Welcome back to Ultimate Pool Extra. I'm still with Mark Allen, Dom Cooney, and Scott Ryan. And in this third part of the show, we're going to take a look back at what happened this week in the pairs, where Gareth Potts and Mark Selby came through in fine style, qualifying through to the second stage of the competition. Scott, I want to come to you first. It was a big week on Monday. It was sort of billed as a big week. We saw Mark playing in last year's pairs, and it was great fun, a great spectacle, and it was every bit the same again, if not bigger.
Yeah, it was terrific from the get go. Kind of the expected outcome was for Gareth and Mark to win, but they didn't have it all their own way. There were a few missed chances by a couple of the pairs where they could have been punished and they could have been put under the cosh a little bit more. But again, great to see Mark Selby and Gareth playing as a team. They've really gelled well together as a team. And it was the atmosphere in the arena on Monday night. It sounded incredible from my front room. Goodness knows what it was like to actually be there, Simon. Maybe you can give us a little bit of a clue, but it sounded incredible. And to see Mark high fiving his daughter in the crowd, those are the sorts of moments that kind of make Ultimate Pool a little bit more special.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great moments there. As you say, seeing Mark interact with the kids in the crowd, including his daughter. I actually got to interview Sophia as well, which was a lot of fun, saying that her mum should have been playing, Vicky should have been playing rather than Mark. But yeah, it was a great night. It really was. You don't quite see the amount of people that were there on camera. I guess that's something that going forward, if we keep getting more and more people wanting to watch the show, that Ultimate will take a look at. But yeah, there was a really good atmosphere in the crowd. A lot of people wanted to be there and see it. And it wasn't just for Mark and Gareth as well. There was good support for the other pairs in action. It really was a cracking night. And I agree with what you say that, there was a few missed chances. I can remember a missed pot from Lee Grout that you'd expect him to make. And also one from Ian Ali. And sometimes I think you end up playing the player a little bit there. I mean, Dom, have you experienced that in your career when you see players, they know who they're playing against, and sometimes that has a big effect on the sort of shots in hand? A straight pot to the corner sometimes is harder if you're playing Gareth Potts and Mark Selby.
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely be influenced by the players you're playing. I know earlier on in my career, I definitely was a victim of that. And Lee Grout, as you said, missed that ball against Mark and Gareth, and he probably wouldn't have missed that against anyone else, but just because it's them in the other chair, it's played on his mind, and he give them a lifeline by missing it.
Yeah, but you don't have to give them much, and they sort of grab it and run with it. Mark, I want to ask you about Mark Selby playing in it. Obviously, he comes from the pool world, and it's great that he can now come back and he dips in and out with Gareth, which is great to see. But alongside Mark Selby, now yourself playing, we've got Jamie Burnett playing at the weekend, who was a former snooker player, and then we've got a lot more snooker players that seem interested in getting involved. There, a lot of the players now watch and enjoy the show and actually want to get a part of it. Is that something you've experienced talking to your your friends and colleagues on the snooker circuit?
I think what you guys are Ultimate Pool are doing is sort of raise the bar, and I think that's got a lot of the snooker players sort of interested. Lend itself to like the way the snooker calendar is this season as well, with lots of gaps. I think you're going to be inundated with requests to play in these events, and if you keep building your product the way you have been the last 18 months, 2 years, I can only see bigger and better things ahead for you. And if some of the snooker guys can get involved, then so be it. It'd be great for us as well.
Yeah, we've seen, speaking to Will Caldwell on last week's show and also privately as well, asking about the sort of level of interest in the wildcards that were announced a few weeks ago. And he said he's had a number of snooker players express interest. He's not giving anything away about whether anyone is in or out. Is that something that you'd consider going forward, maybe playing a little bit more?
Yeah, honestly, if the calendar allows it and I don't make too much of a fool of myself at the weekend, then yeah, definitely. I'd love to come back if you guys would have me. But look, obviously, I'm a realist. I'm not going to pull up too many trees in the pool world, in the long run. So I have to stick to what I know best, and that's the snooker. But as long as the calendar allows it, then there's no reason why I can't dip my toe in the water every now and again, and who knows, might pull up an upset or two along the way.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. I think you do better than you're suggesting you will as well. Scott, it's exciting for us to see some of these snooker players coming across. I mean, it's one of the things Ultimate Pool have done really well in building the exposure of the sport. Is it's not just snooker players we've had in. You know, we had Phil Taylor in, we had Andy Sullivan in from the golf world as well. You know, but having the crossover in cue sports, you know, specifically, it's been really, really exciting for us to see.
Well, naturally, you know, the bulk of us when we were growing up and we played snooker, you would have had a little flirtation with pool or vice versa. Without commenting too much on other organisations, World Snooker kind of have given Ultimate Pool this opportunity by having such big gaps in the calendar. And you know, you've got to look at it. You know, there are very few snooker players who earn millions of pounds at the table. So if there are opportunities to play in events because there is a gap in the calendar, you've got to fully expect them to take it. And I don't blame them, which is kind of good from an Ultimate Pool perspective that we're having this crossover happen. You know, from our perspective, we would always want snooker players to come and play an Ultimate Pool because it attracts new people to the product. And make no mistake about it. You know, having spoken to the guys at Ultimate Pool, I know that there were subscribers that joined in from multiple countries on Monday night to tune in to see Gareth and Mark play together, and I'm sure that will be exactly the same come Saturday to see Mark Allen play. It's exciting times for Ultimate Pool, and one thing about Ultimate Pool, which you'll see from a lot of the snooker players who come across and play. The snooker players who come across and play on Ultimate Pool have respect for the game of pool, and they know how difficult it can be. And Mark has been, you know, very candid there that he knows that this isn't his world, this isn't his natural habitat, but isn't it going to be exciting to watch him in this habitat?
Absolutely. I agree with everything you're saying. It is fantastic to see. I want to show you one clip from Monday, which is this lovely, a bit of a beauty of a shot from Mark Selby. If you'd like to watch the whole show back, and I urge you to do that, it is on ultimatepool.tv. There'll also be a highlight show on YouTube as well, but it's well worth checking out. But have a look at this shot that Mark Selby played. It is an absolute beauty here. And what I find interesting about this, you saw him getting down there thinking about playing the topspin shot. It was actually Gareth got in his ear and said, no, you can't play that on this table. Got him to change his mind, plays the screw shot and couldn't play it any better. Dom, as somebody that plays on this table regularly, how difficult was that?
Yeah, when I watched it, and same as like Gareth said, he was getting down to play the topspin shot, straight away I was thinking that's not going to happen on here, but when he got down to screw it, I thought, well, he's got to hit this good, but obviously with his calibre, it's not something he struggles with, hitting the ball nicely. So he nailed it. And I even think the first red itself was great, but also to then knock in the long straight one showed his class as well. So yeah, it was brilliant.
And there's that reaction with the crowd going over and high-fiving his daughter as well, which was great to see. You could hear the crowd really enjoyed that one. Mark, I guess that's what we were talking about with you playing on the Players' Championship, is there might have to be a few shots like that if the patterns go wrong, but I guess you're looking forward to the challenge of that.
Yeah, definitely, and it's interesting because obviously Mark was going to play the topspin shot, and I'd have been very similar myself. It's so hard to compute in your mind when you're used to the heavier weight, just how much like stun comes off the topspin in the pool world, and how easy it is to actually screw back in comparison to snooker. So yeah, I'd have been the same as Mark there. I'd have been looking at the topspin and probably cannoning 2 yellows and looking a bit silly, but he's obviously got a bit of advice from Gareth there. And the good thing about Mark is, even though he's done everything he's done in the sport, he's willing to take that on board and listen to Gareth's advice because he knows that that's Gareth's world. So yeah, but he stand up and pull that shot off was still brilliant.
Yeah, it was good to see. I guess you're going to get 10-15 minutes practice on the actual match table before action gets underway at the weekend. I guess that's something that'll be invaluable for you as you get yourself ready for those matches. Yeah,
to me, I just want to test out the cushions, and I'm pretty good at getting the speed of the table pretty quick, but just test the cushions and play a few shots up the rail and see what they're like. That's pretty much it. I think everything else will just have to be learned on the fly.
Yeah. Dom, we mentioned in part 2 that we were going to talk about Team Blessed and Sweargate again. I want to show you this clip, and Mark, you may not have seen this. This is one of the most bizarre ways to win a match in the pool world that you will ever see. So if we show the clip now, you can see Kevin George on a clearance in the dying seconds, well, Kevin George and Del Redmond, it's a Scotch frame, to beat yourself, Dom, and Luke Gilbert. And
bear in mind, we're out at this point.
You're absolutely out if that goes in.
Even
Kevin
if
George
it doesn't, we can't get him up.
And at this point, everyone's wondering what's going on, and you can't hear it on the commentary there. But when he missed that ball, Kevin actually started swearing, and that cost him a frame in the pool world. So you went from almost nailed on being out of the competition to being back in the competition with actually a chance to qualify and make it through to a 6-row shootout. First of all, you must have been really feeling the Team Blessed moment at that point.
Yeah, well, just before he's played the black, for some reason, I sort of Luke had his bottle of water in his hand, and I said to him, "Put that down because we might get a chance to have a run around and try and clear up." I didn't realise we only had 15 seconds, so we had no chance. But at the time, I thought he might actually miss this because it was just his cueing was a little bit funny. Don't get me wrong, he shouldn't miss it, but I just had a feeling he might miss it. And when he did, I was thinking, right, we can clear up here. And then Scott's called the foul, and it's quite funny because he's called the foul and turned it away, and you couldn't see it on camera, but he couldn't stop laughing because it was just such a surreal moment. I know he's supposed to be neutral and stuff, but it was quite funny. But I spoke to Kev after. Luckily, he took it in good spirit and he saw the funny side. So
yeah, I wonder how his partner Del felt about it more than Kevin. Mark, I want to ask you about this because I think this is a fairly controversial rule in the pool world. There's a lot of people thinking maybe loss of frame for swearing is a little bit on the harsh side, and we've seen it twice in a matter of a few weeks. Cost players matches happened to Carl Morris up in Blackpool as well. What's the rule in the snooker world? What happens if you get caught swearing in the snooker world?
I think we get a warning first of all, but I think if it's persistent, then you would lose the frame. But I don't think it's just as clear cut as if you do it once you lose a frame. But thankfully we're not mic'd up because I'd say a lot of players do it in their seats after a missed shot, and you don't get that on camera. But yeah, I do it quite a lot. I speak to myself a lot, so I need to be careful.
That's actually someone we've seen a lot in the pool. I've seen a number of players go back to their chair and they're sort of muttering to themselves, and you can see exactly what they're saying on camera, but of course they're not mic'd up, so you can't hear it. And if the referee doesn't see it, it's not called. I think the players do get a warning in the pool world, but the warning happens at the start of the match regardless. So, Scott, is that something that Ultimate could look at?
Well, listen, we love seeing passion from players. We love seeing raw emotion. I guess from Ultimate Pool's perspective, they're looking at kind of protecting the young viewers that watch pool, etc., from harsh language. I think Alex Higgins famously at the Masters game when he beat Steve Davis 5-4, I think he got fined 20 grand back in the 80s for swearing on TV. So snooker, although you may just get a warning for the first swear, there have been moments where they've been quite harsh on players on TV. Loss of frame, is that harsh to lose a match through a swear? Is that harsh? Yeah, it probably is harsh. But as kind of we've rightly alluded to, you're warned at the start of a match. I know that emotions can come into play, but you are warned at the start of a match. Me personally, let them swear.
Okay, you want to relax it further than I do. I want to see the emotion without the heartbreak of losing a match from it. But I guess there's a happy medium there somewhere. But as ever with anything in the Ultimate Pool world, I'm sure it's something they'll monitor and it will be looked at going forward. But yeah, what a bizarre moment that was for us to see. Scott, it's that time. Picking battle again. And this week in the pairs, you let me have first pick, which I thought was really interesting because you're playing the long game, right, trying to sort of manufacture first pick in other weeks.
Can I explain why I let you have first pick? Because it was rightly your first pick. Because we were missing the week of the Masters. It was right. So here I am being honest, and you're criticising me for being honest. Should I have been dishonest? Is that what you're saying?
I think you should have. I think you've manufactured it for future weeks. I think you did it to get Mick and the players personally, but it's okay.
Now I want to swear, Simon.
Yeah. Anyway, so you gave me first pick, and I did pick Gaz and Mark, and they did the business for me. So if we look at the updated score, you can see that you actually might need to start thinking about getting a nice swimming costume ready for Blackpool in December. That's going to be fun for you, mate. But let's have a look at this week's group, and then we can start talking about what might happen this week, and we'll have our picks coming up for this week. It's another intriguing lineup. I think one of the most intriguing lineups we've had for a while. And the World Snooker theme continues as well, because Jamie Burnett, the former World Snooker player, Crucible qualifier, is in action with Scott Gillespie, the BI World Champion. Rob Warnes with Govey Gill. Dan Eaton leads again this week with Dan Bailey, Joe Nolte and Ross Smith. And over to you, Scott. It's your pick. What are you thinking about in this week's group?
I've been lucky enough to watch virtually all of these players play. Was interesting to see Scott Gillespie. I think he returned to a little bit of form a couple of weekends ago. Unfortunately, ran into Gareth, who was in irresistible form. I really like watching Jamie Burnett play pool. I've watched him several times on the Challenger Series this season. He cues the ball so beautifully well. You can see he's got that. He's an ex-snooker player with that beautiful cue action, and cue ball control is very good. The other really interesting thing for me about this partnership is Scott Gillespie and Jamie Burnett are very good friends. They spend all their time together at the events. I can't look past them for that reason. They're a team that have been built. They're good friends. They'll trust each other's game, and they're both great players. So that's my pick.
So you're going for the favourites again, Scott Gillespie and Jamie Burnett. And Jamie Burnett, who I've actually been a lot of people interested to see how he's going to get on in the Challenger Series this year. And, he's probably not had the season he wanted. He's 59th in the rankings, best result of last 32. A lot of people fancied him to finish in that top 16. I guess he still can. There's 2 more tournaments to go. And whilst 59th doesn't sound great, that's out of 288 runners. So 59th, he's consistently getting through a few rounds, but not being able to get that deep run to get him into that top 16. So, yeah, fascinating to see how he gets on Monday. And had I had first pick, I would have gone for Scott and Jamie as well. Because more than anything else, because I think they're such good friends off the table, I think that really helps on the table as well. When I look at the rest of the group, Rob Warne again, Govey Gill, Dan Eaton and Dan Bailey are my choices in terms of I'm going for one of those two, and I'm very torn. But I think because I'm such a big fan of Dan Eaton Lees, I'm going to go for Dan Eaton Lees. Question mark for me is how will Dan Bailey cope with the environment for the first time. I think Dan's going to have a big night if they're going to come through. I think Rob Warne and Govey Gill might be a bit more of an established partnership that might actually cope with it better. But because I'm a big fan of Dan, and as I've said to you many times over the last few weeks, I'm going to start going with my sort of heart on things rather than my head. I'm going to go for Dan Eaton Lees. Dom, do you fancy a pick here?
Yeah, I'll have a pick. I think it's a really interesting group, and from the outside, people would say Ross and Joe really wouldn't have much chance, but I actually know them both quite well. They're both England under-23 internationals, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them cause an upset. But I think I'm going to go with Rob and Govey. Rob's been playing quite well lately, and Govey's improving all the time, so I'll go with them.
And Mark, I sort of threw you under the bus in the Masters picks. Do you fancy a pick on this one?
I'm going to stick with what I know. I know Scott pretty well, and obviously Jamie's background as well, so I'm going to stick with them guys. I think they're going to be hard to beat. Excellent.
That's good to hear. So a couple going for Scott and Jamie. So yeah, find out on Monday at 6:30 on Free Sports and ultimatepool.tv and many other ways around the world as well. That is it for Ultimate Pool Extra for this week. Thank you all for being on the show, especially you, Mark. Thank you for coming on and giving up your time. Really looking forward to seeing how you get on this weekend at the Players' Championship. And if you would like to see Mark playing this weekend on the Players' Championship, then ultimatepool.tv, all the action gets underway at 11 o'clock on Saturday. And we'll play all the way through 15 matches across the course of the day. And we'll find out our top 4 to play on Sunday, which gets underway at midday. So plenty of action at the weekend. And then we've got the Players on Monday and the Masters on the Wednesday as well. So thank you guys for being on the show. And thank you for watching. And I'll join you all next week for next week's Ultimate Pool Extra.